Know from my Twitter feed that many of you have wondered why I have been off the air for a little while. Well, I have been dealing with a little bit of a health scare. On December 20th, I began to feel chest pains, and they waxed and waned over a period of 10 days. I wasn't quite sure what to make of it, but as they continued to get worse, I started to think something was actually wrong. It was December 30th when I finally went to an urgent care and was told I had reflux. I didn't really buy it, but I was relieved it wasn't my heart. My body, though, was pretty certain not to believe the reflux. The next day, on December 30th, I woke up with severe pains both in my chest and in my left shoulder, and it was like a tightening in my chest. When I took deep breaths, that got worse when I was laying flat. I knew enough at that moment to understand that it could mean, could is the key word here, that I was having a heart attack, especially because it was happening in the left part of my shoulder. I want to remind you, I run 7 miles 3 to 4 times a week, or I did. I do yoga. I don't eat meat. I don't smoke. I drink occasionally, not right now though, because my doctor tells me I can't. Aside from probably not getting enough sleep and working too much, I'm a pretty healthy person. But on that day, I was anything but. My husband drove me to the emergency room, and from there, the nightmare that has been my January began. I was diagnosed with pericarditis, inflammation of the lining of my heart, brought on by a virus, a literal common cold. They determined I had developed myocarditis, inflammation of the actual heart now, the heart muscle.
Okay, first off, I wish her well. I don't know who.
That's the Rubin Report. Love his show. And that was, and I hope I pronounced this right, Yasmin Vizgani from CNBC. The Democratic arm of the propaganda media. And boy, I can't even believe that they actually put that video on. I was shocked today. I was like, oh man, I gotta play. This is it. This is the video of the day. But in addition to that, because I had some other notes here, and it's in the middle of this, because the princess in Thailand, she collapsed after she got the Pfizer booster shot. Now, we don't know of any correlation between the two. There's been nothing that's been said about it. It's just, it was just kind of weird. And then a guy went to Thailand to testify about the booster shot, his opinion of it. And in Thailand, it says they may ban the jab. That'd be huge because, you know, Pfizer has full immunity in Thailand from any sort of repercussions from the jab if anybody has a bad reaction. But I guess all it takes is a really important person to drop down from the jab before something might be done. That would be big. They would be the first country on earth to ban the jab. So we'll see what happens. I hope I'm not saying anything wrong. Hey, by the way, I wanted to point out on my channel, I mean, I don't know if you watch YouTube. I do. That's where I get most of my news. And man, I tell you, the number of commercials has gone crazy. But the good news is I'm so buried in their algorithm, you can't even find me. So if you're actually watching this video, you're not going to have any commercials because I'm not even monetized. So that's the good news for you if you're actually watching this. So let's get into all of the news of the day, because I tell you, I just love going around the horn here. So Ilhan Omar says it is Republican racism that removed her from her Foreign Affairs Committee. So I'm sure that it is definitely racism as to why she got removed from that committee, because it couldn't be anything else. It couldn't be incompetence or perhaps her lack of understanding of the world, or even her anti-Semitism, anti-Jewish attitude. Let's just put it that way. The other thing, boy, I tell you, this has been huge. I was listening to it on the radio today. Man, I tell you, Texas, all of the south central United States is in an ice freeze. There's 250,000 people without power. And that includes Tennessee and well, a few other states. I didn't write them all down. So anyway, that's big, man. Because I was hearing, I think it might have been Dana Lash. I was listening to her on the radio today, and she was talking about. And by the way, you got to watch the videos, man. All these cars, because in Texas, I mean, look, let me explain something. When you have ice, because I'm from Michigan, I spent 20 years in Michigan. When there's ice on the road, now I understand if you got a job like I had, where you got to get to work. I mean, I risked life and limb sometimes to get to work because I had to keep my job. But, you know, I understand that. But man, if you don't need to be out, I mean, it just takes a thin sliver of that black ice on the road. You got no control, man. You got no control. And they were showing all these cars spinning around in Texas. But why in the hell are they out driving anyway? Unless you got to get to your job. I understand. Or you're a healthcare worker or something like that. I mean, I understand. There's always reasons that you may have to be out there. But looking at the number of cars, I'm like, all these people cannot need to be out on the road. That's just my opinion. Now, we had a drone strike on Iran, and Iran they were drone striking the drone making facility, which is kind of ironic. But Iran is pissed off. They're saying that it was the United States and Israel that planned this strike, and we'll see where that goes. Now, you know that supposedly, I have found no perfect evidence that Iran is providing drones to Russia to fight the Ukraine war, but there's been a lot of talk of that, so who knows. Russia came out today with a couple of huge claims, and I tell you what, I have yet to see where the Russian news is wrong, okay? And now I'm sure they put their spin on it, but not like the Western media. Oh, hell no. I mean, not like CBS, NBC, ABC, MSDNC. I mean, if you wanted me to look at the news and say, okay, do I believe, our Western media, or do I believe Russia? I'm going to come out on the Russian side every time. But anyway, they claim that all roads to Bakhmut are covered at this point. And what that means is they are all within artillery range. And as proof, now I haven't seen any pictures of this. There's only been reports on this right now. But they're claiming that there was a resupply convoy coming into Bakhmut from the Ukrainians, and that they destroyed it. Now, did they say that everything was utterly destroyed? No, they just said that it came under fire, I think was the exact wording. So whether that means that they just made them back off, or everything got out intact, or what, but the word destroyed came up, so it sounded like that it looks like this convoy was destroyed, in my opinion. And then they came out with a statement, and this was interesting, because I was talking about how the Russians, when they go down into the trenches, they've been giving the Ukrainians many times a chance to surrender, and I told you as a Marine I would just kill them all. But they're saying right now Ukraine can flee, but they can't retreat from Bakhmut. So what they're saying is, I guess if the Ukrainian soldiers want to get the hell out of Bakhmut, I don't know if this means they won't try to kill them, but I'm sure if they're going to blow them up if they've got all their gear with them. That's what I'm saying. Is like, okay, if it's a bunch of guys without guns and they're just running away from Bakhmut, I don't think the Russians are going to kill them. But if they're trying to carry their guns with them and all of their gear and everything, so they can go back and fight again, the Russians are going to destroy them. That's the way that I interpret that. Okay, that's the way I would handle it if I were Russia. I mean, if you're not trying to be the sadist that everybody paints them out to be, because I tell you, this is a civil war. Okay, I mean, I don't think that Russia, just like in the Union and against the South, that they want to just kill people. They just want the military defanged at this point. Oh yeah, this was interesting. So the sanctions, as we know, have backfired against the West, and I wanted to liken that to what happened with Trudeau when he went up against the truckers. I think that's backfired against Trudeau. I hope that that evil son of a gun gets voted out in Canada, and we'll see. I mean, it seems to me that everything that the West is doing, everything that these globalist dictators are doing, is backfiring on them at this point. So we'll see. Let's see, getting on. Oh yeah, this was interesting. I don't know if you saw, getting back to the jab, I should have covered this at the beginning, was, Project Veritas, they caught this Pfizer executive at a bar talking about how they're doing, well, I guess you could call it gain of function. They didn't call it that. They had a different name for it. And boy, I tell you, it erupted into almost a fist fight. Somebody locked the door. It was a crazy scene, man. I was like, holy moly. But as a result, now our media has completely blocked and banned this story. If you search for it on Google or any other platform, you will not find that story. So I figured I'd just report on that. Here was another story today. CNN continues to lose people that watch their channel. Good riddance, CNN. I can't believe anybody watched Don Lemon. Don Lemon. That guy he's either the biggest liar or the biggest idiot I've ever seen in my life. Oh my God. And then another thing onto the pandemic was Lorraine Babart. I hope I pronounced that right. Or Bobart. Boy, I tell you, she is good looking, man. I tell you. But anyway, she's in the Congress, and she came out and she said, if the pandemic is over, why do we still have an emergency declared until March or something like that? Good question, right? Why do we still have an emergency declared? I don't really understand that. There's a lot of people out there that, if you want to think about it, I think that China, Russia, I don't think Brazil was there. I don't think India. Elon Musk didn't go. So they're saying that the WEF is dead. Russia put the final stake in that coffin with their war in Ukraine when they decided to win the war. Well, they haven't won yet, but it looks like they are going to. And they're saying that this whole globalist. Now these are powerful people. They've got tons and tons of money, but it depends. I mean, it depends on how many assets they have. If all they got is dollars, they're going to be poor here soon. That's my opinion. They just don't know it yet. So India and Brazil. Oh yeah, this was a good point that the Duran brought up. If the UN is going to continue to be relevant, they have to include India and Brazil in the UN Security Council. It's just ridiculous that they're not there. So the UN has basically been taken over by the United States, and I see that same with the WHO. Trump took us out of the WHO, and then of course Biden went back to the U.S. funding the WHO. But it doesn't matter because China has bought the WHO, which is why Trump said, "Why are we giving money to the WHO? They're basically a Chinese." Propaganda tool. So anyway, I guess maybe Biden thought that the U.S. could influence the WHO, and I'm sure there is some influence there, but I can't imagine that it's a whole lot. Then of course the Biden administration today was beating the Taiwan war drums. According to Colonel McGregor, doesn't look like that's going to be possible. I mean, he said, "What's the reason for China to invade Taiwan?" And even if they did, or if the Biden administration wants to, the warmongering Democrats, because that's who they are, and everybody in the United States wants to go to war, but especially the Democrats, he was pointing out that the Chinese hypersonic missiles would just destroy, because basically the projection of our power in that region of the world is with our Navy. And these new hypersonic missiles that China's got in abundance, and of course Russia's got them too, would just destroy any U.S. fleet that came into the area. And then of course, I mean, look at our leadership. Oh my God, we got Lincoln blinking, will you look me in the eye? I mean, the guy's a complete idiot. So I mean, we have nothing but idiots leading the nation. I mean, we got Austin, who's a traitor. We got Milley, who's a traitor. I mean, we got Biden, who's a Chinese asset. I mean, our government's gone to hell. This is the death of the empire, in my opinion. But anyway, let's just keep going. By the way, gold, man, I tell you, gold's on a tear. It's going to cross 2,000. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Silver's up 20, 24 something. Like I said, I've been trying to buy it in the 23 to 24 range. I'm not sure I'll ever get another purchase on silver ever again. I am just not going to pay. Well, I was looking at Bullion Max today, and they wanted $32 for an ounce of silver on just regular bullion coins. And at SD Bullion, they do have some. I want to say, anyways, the Australian Perth Mint coins, but they're in $27 to $28, which I mean I might pay that if it's at that price. At the beginning of March, I might make one last purchase, but it just seems to me that precious metals have gone out of my price range at this point. If you didn't get into them, I feel bad for you. This was a piece of news I thought was interesting. Toyota announced that, and they're sticking with the Prius Prime, and the Prius, I guess. So they're not abandoning gas-powered vehicles, even though the Green New Deal, the Greenies want them to abandon all gas-powered cars, but Toyota says no, they're not going to do that. But man, I tell you what, I was looking. They had some video of the new Prius Prime. I mean, it's badass looking. I mean, I'm thinking, maybe I should trade in my 2021 Prius Prime for the 2023. I mean, it looked cool. And I think that the horsepower and the torque has been increased in the new Prius Prime. And I can't remember the numbers, but the acceleration on this thing is pretty incredible for a gas sipper. The Prius is only going to get, maybe 55 miles to the gallon or so, but the Prius Prime, I mean, like I said, with my 2021, I'm getting 85 miles to the gallon on the highway, and that's when I'm not just driving on the battery. By the way, I got my electric bill today with charging the car, heating my house with electricity, all the lights, the TV, everything. It was $148 for the month. So maybe charging up the car does cost a bit of money. That was a bit high on the high side for me. So this was an interesting thing. I guess McCarthy met with Biden today, or I think it was today. And basically the warmongering Democrats said there's no end to spending, that they are not going to cut back on spending, even though we just crossed $31 trillion in debt today. So the warmongering Democrats say no end to spending, no end to spending. Thank God everybody votes for the Democrats. Let's see. Oh, yeah, the consumer demand is crashing, according to multiple reports. So that sounds like to me that we're in a recession. But of course, the Democrats, the warmongering Democrats, would never admit that we are in a recession. And then on a personal note, I'll just talk about my will and foundation. I was going to set up a living trust, but because I have less than $1 million in assets, my law firm, okay, I won't name them because I don't want any sort of legal entanglements there. They said no, it's a lot cheaper to just do a will because I'm leaving everything to my foundation. So they said, well, all you got to do is name your foundation as the beneficiary for everything. Just go into all your bank accounts, all of your IRAs, all of your 401ks or whatever you got, Roth IRAs, your life insurance policies, and name your foundation as the beneficiary. And then, of course, my beneficiary is going to handle the distribution of my assets. And then the other thing that I will be doing, and I forget what it's called, but I'll be titling my house. Upon my death, it will get titled into the foundation. The house will pass on to the foundation, so it doesn't even have to go through probate. So the only thing really left to deal with is all of the belongings that I have at the house. And so I got to thinking, when my mom died, I offered up to all of my relatives, pretty much anybody that that my mom knew, but she had alienated everybody. She went batshit crazy for about the last 5 years of her life, so she had no friends or anybody. And I said, look, you can come and take whatever you want out of the house. So I'm kind of treating it the same way here. I've got, when you break your neck, I mean, that's the good news. You find out who your true friends are. So basically, I've just decided I'm going to put in my will, a couple of people that stood by me through my crisis of trying to survive a broken neck, and I'm still surviving the broken neck. Believe me, I've still got no feeling in my hands or my feet, and so I'm just going to say, look, they can come in and take whatever they want before the fire sale. And I say fire sale, the law firm, he's going to actually take care of selling all of my belongings, and then all of that money will go into the estate. So I'm just telling you how I'm setting things up, and of course, they do want in the will how I'm going to handle my funeral. Now, I have to work on that, and I'll let you know how that goes. But this is kind of what I'm doing. So, at first I was telling you to get a living trust, but I guess that's only if you have over $1 million or you have a substantial estate, or if you've got a complicated situation where you have many relatives that are going to be, receiving, this, that, and the other. You might want a living trust. But in my case, everything's just going to my foundation, and then the foundation is going to work with the recreation department to build playgrounds and put in obstacle courses and extend bike trails, and that's where I want all of my money to go. So I'm just telling you, these are the things you need to think about. And like I said in a previous video, a video saying where you want your money to go ain't going to work. It has to be in writing, and it has to probably be housed at a law firm. That's my advice. So yeah, you're going to have to pony up the money. It was, well, I've only spent $1,050 so far, and then to title the house into the name of the foundation, upon my death, that's going to be another $550. So you figure I'm out $1,600 so far just to make it all work. But the law firm is going to keep a copy of all this. Now, what's the danger there? The danger is the law firm could go away, right? Which is what happened to my mom. Her lawyer, well, he did pass it on to his sister, but anyway, yeah, there's always a catch-22 to everything. But at least for now, the law firm's going to have a copy of the will. And then the other thing I didn't think about, and these are things that you need to think about, was, and they pointed out, was, okay, the medical directive. Okay, and I said, well, all I got to do is do a medical directive. And they're like, no, you got to have somebody somewhere. If you don't want the law firm to make the decision on when to pull the plug, you have to have somebody that's going to talk to the doctors, because the way it was explained, 2 doctors have to declare you basically dead. And if you remember, there was a big case that the lawyer pointed out to me where some family members wanted to pull the plug, some family members wouldn't. It was this woman, and the poor woman was brain dead, and the doctor said there was no chance of recovery. And I went into this huge legal battle anyway. So he says, no, you got to have somebody that's going to make the decision on when to pull the plug. If you were sitting in a coma, which basically I was when I broke my neck. So I can definitely see the need for that. So I did put a couple of people on that, of course. And then the third person is the law firm. They can make the decision as to whether to pull the plug or not. And so you have to have that in addition to the medical directive. And then the other thing the law firm pointed out, this was part of the paperwork, was power of attorney. Now, I'm okay right now, but, let's say that I fall down another set of stairs and hit my head and I'm laying someplace, and who's going to make decisions for me? And he's like, well, you got to have a power of attorney of some sort. He says, but you can't, in my case, I'm not going to give it to the people that have power of attorney, okay? But the law firm can. I've authorized them, in the case of an emergency or whatever, to give my power of attorney to the people that I designated. And one was a cousin and one was a good friend of mine. Like I said, the people that stood by me after I broke my neck. But then the lawyer pointed out something I hadn't really thought about. And that was that, let's say I probably won't be, but you never know. I mean, let's say I'm overseas and I'm traveling and I'm going to hike, Mount Everest or whatever. And a financial situation comes up back home that has to be taken care of. But I can't fly back from climbing Mount Everest to take care of this. I could authorize the law firm to give the power of attorney to the people that I designated, and then they can take care of the financial business that needs to be taken care of. And that's just one example. I mean, it could be something else. So, you know, power of attorney is a powerful, powerful tool. You got to be real, real careful about who gets their hands on that. So that's why my power of attorney will just be housed at the law firm's office. But the people that I designated, you know, they can at any point upon my direction or upon the law firm's direction, because they can make the decision too. I have to authorize them to make the decision in case, you know, if I'm laying as a vegetable in a hospital somewhere, they can give that power of attorney. So I always try in these videos to give you some everyday advice of things that you need to be thinking about and things you need to be doing, not just covering the world news. Anyway, that's it for today. Good to live in the free Republican state of Florida under the great Republican leadership of Governor DeSanctimonious.